sneak in if you're wondering why does this guy hate the mayor now of another city? And like, no, I don't hate him. I just wish that people would be a little more aware of how they conduct public events that involve racialized. When you ask racialized people, we're asking for a perspective that heavily affects racialized people and disabled people and gay people and two-spirit people. When you ask them to come to a space and share their feelings, I think you have more than a passing responsibility, more than just saying, "Well, this isn't a safe space." I think you have a much greater responsibility than some of the things that went down. I'll unpack that in the second half of the show. But talk about the disastrous, in my opinion, mayor's DEI forum. Poor Matt. I actually basically believe that Matt Cisco has great intentions, but the delivery is just sloppy. But I gotta talk about this. I gotta talk about I gotta talk about the mayor's forum and yeah. But first, I need to talk about. I don't think that I should really have to couch my language on this anymore. That Israel is committing human rights offenses at an extensive level in Palestine. I have never hid the fact that I am deeply disappointed in the way that regional council and the city of St. Catharines and other municipalities created a double standard by pulling full-throated support behind the Ukraine against Russia, but then when it came time to support Palestinians that are undergoing very, very similar threats to their existence, much worse threats with much broader human rights violations, that there was silence. And I, of course, am using my public platform to criticize the mayor, as Sean and I have done on a regular basis. But also I said it directly to his face the other day when he created an EDI forum. So before we get to the EDI forum and my criticisms of the way that it was run, fundamental criticism being that it was an unsafe space that allowed people whose names I won't even say, but known disruptive people, known attention seekers, people that wouldn't hesitate to say things that will harm gay people, two-spirit people, that will harm non-white people, that there was just not a safe space. This was not well organized. This is very preventable. Harm happened, and the harm was preventable. I need to criticize again and as an Indigenous person, yes, I'm sympathetic to the people of Palestine. They are Indigenous people being displaced from their homelands by Israeli forces that are getting arms with parts made in Canada, assembled in the United States of America, subsidized heavily by our tax dollars, and being used to kill people. And I'm against that as an Indigenous person. In May 2023, Israel launched a 5-day offensive in the occupied, blockaded Gaza Strip, killing 11 Palestinian civilians. Following a Hamas-led attack in southern Israel on October 7th, during which 1,000 Israeli people, at least 1,000 Israeli people were killed, 36 Israeli children, some 245 people were taken hostage or captive, Israel conducted intense military operations that killed 21,600 Palestinians, at least in Gaza. A third of them, 7,000 children, were killed in this counteroffensive. 7,000 children were killed by Israel, by the state of Israel. These are not opinions. These are facts. 60% of homes were destroyed. In October of 2023, Israel intensified its 16-year blockade on Gaza. They had already been blockading Gaza for 16 years. They had already been limiting medical supplies, food, water, electricity, fuel, medicines. They made it worse. They made it worse. When we, as a collective, in May and June 2021, were mourning the discovery of residential school children's graves. People of Gaza peacefully walked towards the border of Israel without arms to raise awareness in the world community. Snipers killed Gazan residents and Palestinian people. Israeli snipers killed them for peaceable protest. Israeli authorities have deepened the apartheid system, oppressing Palestinians in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories by implementing laws and policies of segregation. These are facts, deprivation, and forced displacement. In Gaza alone, 1.9 million Palestinians were forcibly displaced due to Israeli offensive. Again, these are facts out of a population of 2.2 million. State-backed settler violence increased. Facts. In southern Israel, Israeli forces continue to demolish Bedouin homes and whole villages, including one village, for the 222nd time. In the West Bank, Israeli policing operations were the most lethal since 2005, with 110 Palestinian children among those killed. Detention of Palestinians without charges or trials reached record levels inside Israel. Police sometimes use excessive force and arbitrary arrests at anti-government demonstrations and impose bans on anti-war protests. In Palestinian communities, LGBTQ people continue to face discrimination in law and practice. Several violations of international and humanitarian law are happening in the Gaza Strip, in the West Bank, now in Lebanon. This is apartheid. I am sorry. I'm sorry if this makes some listeners uncomfortable or unhappy. This is not anti-Semitism. These are facts. These are facts that Israel has committed human rights violations on a local level. Local Palestinian people, supporters of Palestinian people, people like Dr. Sama Sabra, who got up, a past guest of this show, who got up and addressed Mayor Sisko, said, "Can you please see us as people?" And listen, this is not, I'm not anti-Matt Sisko. This isn't about that. This isn't any kind of political thing or anything like that. But if we want to affect positive change, it's going to have to be hard. And he took the easy way out, and I think he needs to be held accountable for it. So I gotta continue this thought. But this EDI forum that he held was a disaster, and I've just got to the tip of the iceberg. This thing was a hot mess. Windsor listeners, if you're listening and your mayor, your conservative mayor, is thinking about having a DEI forum, I'm gonna go through item by item the things not to do. But I have to. I have a moral obligation to speak out against the inaction of local leadership who was quick to defend Ukraine. They've all admitted it was a double standard. You're not retracting that support for the Ukraine, though. You should be saying something. You should be saying something. You can still support Jewish community members. You can still support Muslim community members and speak out against the human rights offenses. You can still speak out against anti-Semitism, but criticize Israel, all in the same sentence. It can all be done. We can walk and chew gum together. We can do better. We can be better. Let me grab a pause. We'll be right back. There's going to be something really, really appreciate my friends over at the Niagara Regional Native Center and the work that they're doing. I wonder if Matt's going to be there today, Mayor Matt Sisko. I hope so. I hope that we can disagree on issues and still be friendly, because I strongly disagree with Matt Sisko and Laura Yip. You know what? I haven't even had a face-to-face conversation with Laura, somebody who I have sat across this very table that I'm hosting from many times, roundtabling with for a couple of years. We had the gig where we were Tom McConnell's noon 30 people every other week. So Laura, I respect you as a person. I've read your blog on the reasons why you blocked the motion. But I still think that we have done nothing. We have done nothing as a community to support Palestinian people here in Niagara, and that it's bullcrap to say that, oh well, it's an over there issue, and if we start making, we're here and I'm supposed to help with housing and parks and this and whatnot. No. Leadership is very much symbolic, very much symbolic. You can't cut a ribbon and say that is somehow directly tied to anything other than the symbolic support for the growth and support of our community, in the same way that we have community members that are suffering, that are struggling with Israelis' human rights violations, numerous human rights violations, the apartheid that was happening before the October 7th attacks. I'm scared to read the news, knowing people in our community, knowing people from Palestinian families that are they're even denied citizenship. Even Canada does not really full-throatedly come around to taking measures to recognize the citizenship of Palestinian people. It's a made-up nation. I know what it's like to feel like your nation is made up. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy, according to Canada on paper, is bugaboo. It's a myth. It's made up, and so it's not great. It's not great right now. So yeah, Matt, I get it. I get your viewpoint. As the mayor of the community, I have responsibility to all my residents. My God, I've heard that line many times. Every single time this comes up, and he says, "Oh, I have to be able to go into everything." You also have to understand complex issues, and you have to live in the gray areas. And you made a very binary black and white decision, and frankly, you made a chicken move. You made a chicken move to back off of the issue. You made a politically calculated move, and that's insufficient for a leader. Now, some leaders would have full-throatedly said, "I don't care." Some leaders would take the Trump approach, where they're saying, "We're friends with Israel, period, and that's that. It's not our place to tell another nation what to do." But the best leaders are recognizing that this is an issue that is only as complex as your unwillingness to talk about it with some level of specificity, and that's all I am saying, Matt. Is that you have responsibility to all your constituents. And listen, if you're going to platform some of the idiots that got platformed at this DEI meeting, then I think you have a responsibility to speak out a little more fulsomely on Palestine. I challenge you to have the courage to take a more complex viewpoint on. Now it has been brought to your attention by residents in your city. You know for a fact that you have Palestinian constituents. Will you continue to do nothing for them? You didn't have to raise the motion either, and that a lot of people are like, why are you picking on Matt Cisco? But Mayor Golden Scissors, Jim Diodati, all the other mayors, they all voted for it. The lefty Wayne Redicop, he voted for it. He voted to quash this motion because you raised the motion. You put your hand up and said, "I'm going to be the one that's going to do this." Why did you put your hand up? I have no idea. You owe us a better explanation on it. You owe your Palestinian constituents. You owe your racialized constituents. You owe indigenous constituents. Palestinians are indigenous to Palestine. So you'll wear an orange shirt, you'll raise an orange flag, but you won't support Palestinian people in your territory. Again, if I'm wrong, email me. Karl.Dockstader@gmail.com. There we go. It's my real email address. I'm giving it out on the air. Send it. Go ahead and send it. That's fine. Let me know what your thoughts are on this, and I am okay. I'm okay with this. I will share that these are the editorial opinions of One Dish One Mic. They do not reflect the viewpoints of Bell Media. They do not reflect the viewpoints of 610 CKTB. They do not reflect the viewpoints of my daytime employer, but maybe they should. Maybe they should, and I would challenge all of those organizations that don't formally stand behind me and back these words that I'm saying on air. I would challenge them all to look yourselves in the mirror and ask yourselves, are you willing to take a little bit of risk to do right in the world? Because that's what residential school survivors had to do. That's what the children affected by the 60 scoop had to do. Is they had to say that I'm willing to take a risk. I often talk about our second annual Nurturing Our Roots powwow for the Niagara Regional Native Center, and we decided, because of advocacy of local members that were coming forward, to talk about the 60s scoop and how important it was for survivors of the 60s scoop to come home. I will never forget the speech that Elaine Burwald gave and the power and passion within which she reminded us that we are just beginning to reclaim our pride as Indigenous people on broader levels that we'd never seen before, but we need to remember to bring 60s scoop people along with us. That takes courage and pride and risk. And so I am asking you, if you are a leader on any political level listening to this show and you are silent on the human rights atrocities that are happening in Palestine. You were silent on the human rights atrocities happening in Sudan. You were silent on the human rights atrocities happening in Lebanon, in Iran, in the rest of the world. Why? Why don't you have the courage to understand that this ties back to people in your territory and affects them? Why aren't you doing anything? Lastly, I'm gonna have to say that this was just a poorly organized event, and I'm sorry. I generally have a lot of respect for the city of St. Catharines, and I'm sorry to any staff that this comes back on. I put this blame squarely on the mayor for allowing this event to go forward. I am not sure at what point the mayor thought that it would be a good idea that he would be both the chair and the accountability officer for the EDI hearing. Listen, have another one. Reach out. I'm available for free. This is not. I mean, I do all kinds of consulting stuff. This one, I'll just give you the advice, the support. I will give you my full support. We owe racialized people a better EDI forum, or you know what? Maybe it's just time to disband EDI until anti-racism is something that we're actually willing to practice as a city, as a community, as an extended community. I don't know. What I do know is that I'm asking you, in the words of Sean Vanderklis, to borrow his catchphrase, do better, be better. That's what I'm asking for. My goodness, this thing was a disaster. You should not have allowed this to go forward in such an unstructured way. This was harmful. This was damaging. I trust the city a lot less than I did before I went into this meeting, and I'm really, really disappointed. And again, I don't know what I want to do moving forward, but I want to ask you to do better. And I don't know. Maybe I'll tell you that. Maybe I'll see you in a couple minutes at the powwow. Maybe I'll see a bunch of you in a couple minutes at the powwow. I really, really appreciate those of you that have taken the time out of your day to listen to One Dish, One Mic. It is a